Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of The Inside on Equinoxe Television. I am Babler Jonathan. This week the world was observing the International Peace Day, and of course we are going to be discussing how to restore peace in the Republic of Cameroon, and particularly in the crisis-stricken regions, the northwest and southwest regions, where socio-political and security tensions have been sweeping across the two Anglophone regions for close to 6 years now. And we're going to be talking about peace. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today is King Michael, former mayor of Muyuka, and today we are receiving him as a peace crusader. And we're going to be talking about peace. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Babila, for bringing up that topic of peace.
The Cameroon that was known in the past as an island of peace, not only in the Central African sub-region, but across the African continent, is today in turbulence. Some areas of the country, particularly the northwest and southwest regions, and also the far north region with the Boko Haram insurgency that's been going on for more than 10 years, and then in the east region with sporadic incursions from Seleka rebels, so ex-Seleka rebels from the Central African Republic. What do you think about the state of Cameroon today?
Despair, despair, despair. When people are despair, there is no room for peace, and everybody is a loser. The haves and the do not haves, the rich and the poor, they all become losers. When there is peace, everybody becomes a winner, and therefore it is imperative that the powers that be should do everything to make sure peace reigns. And remember that the common man will be assured of peace if justice is blind. Because at the end of the day, if there are differences between two individuals, the person, the rightful person who has to pass judgment is the judge, because they were taught that justice is supposed to be blind. And so let those who have to create a favorable environment so that peace should reign, specifically in the northwest and in the southwest. Before 22nd September 2016, Cameroon was regarded as one of the most peaceful nations on this planet Earth. Now, the situation had been deteriorating from better to worse. There were so many signals, but the powers that be never took into consideration that the peace that each and every one of us was enjoying was thanks to a compromised situation. It is after September 22nd, 2016, that all of us are seeing now the need for peace, because when there is peace, there is prosperity, there is economic development, there is everything for a nation to grow. But when there is no peace, nobody wins, everybody loses, including the government. And so we stand here, I stand here to call on my brothers and sisters that all of us will want peace, including the government.
In your opinion, what is the cause of the threat to the country's peace?
Let me recall to you that prior to 2016, there was peace, but a type of peace which at any time, those who could predict knew that it could erupt, and effectively erupted on the 22nd of September 2016. Now, what caused the eruption, or what has been brewing in the wind all this while, is because there was no justice. And when there is no justice, again, as I said from the beginning, there is despair. for people. And when somebody is despair, when somebody does not have hope, the next thing is he says, well, what am I living on earth? Justice must prevail in order for peace to reign. Some people have this habit of thinking that, as one of our politicians once said, former government delegate to Yaoundé Urban Council, who said, for peace to reign, you have to prepare for war. Those are the type of statements that are not welcome in a civilized society. There is no relationship between peace and war. For peace to reign, the government has to create a conducive environment. Government has to create an environment where everybody finds itself being a participant. And if everybody is a participant, everybody is a winner. Nobody is a loser. For the Anglophone crisis, there is one thing which is very certain, which it seems as if it's even all over the country, but because of the nature of how we're brought up, we see it in a different angle. It is something that has been brewing for a long time. Remember, before 1972, we had the Federated Cameroon, where the Anglophones were managing their own affairs and the French-speaking were managing their own affairs. Now, after 1972, most of the structures, economic or whatever, which were existing in the Northwest and Southwest was either taken away, misappropriated. For example, the National Police Marketing Board, Cameroon Bank, Public Works, or it vanished in the air. The National Post Authority in Limbe, in Tico, stopped existing. There were no economic infrastructure to alleviate the living conditions of the people of these two provinces. And so the situation kept deteriorating until 2016. The English-speaking said they could no longer take it. And again, Mr. Babla, I want to assure you that during the meeting between the consortium and the government, they had resolved almost 95% of the differences. What was remaining on the table was the form of the state. And I want to assure you that all what the head of the delegation of the government needed to tell the consortium was, we have heard. But remember that is a decision that is always supposed to be taken by the head of state. I will go and render to him that your children of the English speaking have agreed with us on all conditions except the form of the state, which, if at all, is practiced, everybody will be a winner and there will be peace. That was not taken into consideration. See where we find ourselves today. How does the peace comes back? You cannot sit on the table you are eating, your child is sitting there hungry, and you expect him to be happy. Is that possible, Mr. Babla? No. So those are some of the things which we need to look into nicks of the problem. What happened that we find ourselves where we are today?
How has injustice taken away peace from several parts of the country?
Yeah, because the judicial system is not blind. It was supposed to be blind, but it seems it was not blind. And if it is not blind, the common man, where does he go if he has some problems? Justice. And so in order to avoid that from happening, make the justice system blind so that everybody will benefit from it. That's why I'm saying that if you are being discriminated upon, where do you seek redress? It's through justice. It's not because you have been discriminated upon that you use any other means of redress other than justice. So, in a society where justice is blind, peace reigns, there's economic development, and everybody becomes a winner.
There's a blame game over the root cause of the problem. one party blaming the other, government blaming the secessionists, and on the other side accusing fingers pointing to the Yaoundé administration for provoking the situation on the ground with the use of military force. What's your take on this?
That is why we are where we are, because of that playing game. Mr. Babla, if you want to, even in your house, when you have your kids and you want to act like a parent, you have to be honest to your kids. Remember that all training starts from home. So teach your children to be honest. Teach your children to respect one another. Teach your children to be humble. Why we are where we are today? Because humbleness was thrown into the forest, and we thought we could use force to resolve our issue. And I want to remind our leaders, especially the African leaders, that most of the issue we are facing is because our European partner will tell you, come, we'll give you power. Before you leave to go back to govern, they tie something on your waist, called a rope. Once you want to go to solve the problems of your people, they will shake that rope and remind you that, look, we gave you the power. You don't have to go against. If not, Mr. Babla, why should our army be trained to face hostile environment with neighboring countries, come back and be facing their brothers, their sisters? Does it make any sense? No. It's only taking us backwards. And until we resolve to understand amongst ourselves that we can have our difference in opinion, but we should work on having a common agreement to exist as one, we shall never look for a solution. I hear some people talking, saying, oh, one Cameroon. America is one. Germany is one. Canada is one. What is hurting Cameroon is a form of governance. Cameroon does not want to be two, but we want to be one in a fair way of doing things. We want to participate in the sharing of the national cake. We want to participate in the development of our country. We want to participate in all what it takes for an entity of a country like Cameroon to belong, because there is no reason why I should go to an office where we are claiming to be a bilingual country, and when I speak English to somebody, he says, "Celui Viendu." That is absolutely wrong. Mr. Babla, the root cause has not been touched. No matter any amount of special force or whatever you call, does not resolve the issue. Remember that even our military are very, very courageous. They have a combating spirit. But if you tend to ignore and begin to go look for the problem somewhere else, you will never come out with a solution. What are the root causes of what is going on today in Cameroon? It's injustice. Now, when you know where the issues are, and you tend to go look for issues somewhere else, solutions somewhere else, it doesn't resolve it.
How do we have the so much needed justice, which is a very vital and to an extent indispensable asset for peace?
The first thing is to create an environment where peace will reign. Withdraw the military. First thing, send the police to carry out law and order, to enforce law and order. Come to the table, all the parties involved, and look for solutions to the problems which are facing the English speaking. And I want to assure you that if a genuine dialogue takes place, the solutions will not only affect the Northwest and the Southwest, it will affect the rest of the country. Because too much centralization has never been the best mode of governance. decentralization. Call it what you want to call. If you want to call it federation, you want to call it confederation, you want to call it whatever, but know that too much centralization has never been a good method of governing. And so, the earlier we decentralize, effective, whereby powers, finance will be sent back to the local community to manage their own affairs, everybody will be a winner. There are mechanisms. We are not the first country where what is happening today happened. Other countries have passed through this stage. There are well laid down mechanisms to get to where everybody will become a winner. The first thing is, what are the root causes of the problem? Once you have it, the second thing is, how do we provide an environment where both parties can sit down and discuss? The third thing is, I want to remind each and every Cameroonian that our military were not made to face Cameroonians or to fight against Cameroonians. They were trained, paid with taxpayer money to fight our enemies, who can be a country, a different country for Cameroon, or who can be people from troops from different country, not Cameroonians. And so, once we keep away that mentality where we think we can use force to resolve our issues, so be peace will come. Once we don't keep away that mentality, the crisis will just be going round and round in a circle. I'll give you one example. Why should the people of Ngabo go to Yaoundé for justice to be restored? The Ngabo killing never happened in Yaoundé. It happened in Ngabo. So are you trying to tell me that in Ngabo there is no judicial administration in Ngabo? What about the nearest judicial administration where the people can have the means to go there and seek for justice? Why did they have to go to Yaoundé? That again is the injustice that reigns in society in Cameroon. That's why we are crying that. Are you saying that the judges sent to Northwest, sent to the various divisions are not good judges to render justice? So now you are knocking on the head of the issue, that too much centralization instead creates an unfavorable environment for peace to reign. The earlier we start with effective decentralization, the better. The federal system has been the best way, whereby you will have a central government that will be like the watchdog for the federated states to carry out the activities. The central government will be acting as the judge, where if they have their differences, if two of the federated states have their differences, the central administration will come in and resolve it. They will be like the watchdog. That is what it takes for peace to reign, not the type of situation where we find ourselves today, where to recruit a teacher in a primary school here at my 17, Yaoundé must be involved. Wait a minute. So they have nothing to do other than putting their eyes on to see how teachers are being recruited. There are so many sectors that were supposed to have earlier been sent back to the local administration to manage. But that is not the case today. And that is where most of the issues arising in the Northwest and Southwest are. As I told you, we are not the only ones facing those problems. Even our Francophone brothers are facing it. But you know, the way we were brought up to understand that the common denominator within two entities disagreeing is the justice. Because justice, if rendered blind, solves most of human problems. And if there's no justice, certainly there will be no peace. And therefore, we are calling for justice to prevail, to enable peace to prevail.
Can we have peace in a country where the judiciary is said to be practically swallowed up by the executive arm of the state?
Now, the independence of the judiciary should never, nobody should sit, the judges, the magistrates should not sit and think that the executive will give them their independence. Independence has never been given, it has always been seized, has been withdrawn with all measures. The laws are in the books. The legislative create the laws. It is being applied by the judiciary. You don't expect the executive to tell the judiciary what to do. And if they have been following the orders of the executive, then you don't have to blame anybody. They blame themselves. Now, secondly, in a developed world or in any other neighboring country, I was made to believe that our judiciary are the least paid. I almost bite my tongue when I heard that they pay magistrates in Gabon, in Chad, more than magistrates in Cameroon. How do you render them independent? When you see a magistrate walking on leg, you see a magistrate drinking an off license, how do you render justice with somebody that you were eating, drinking, dining, the same room? How do you render it? So there are certain qualities of a judge in order for him to be independent. You must financially make him to feel that independence. You must administratively make him to feel that independence. And lastly, you must give him the confidence that if justice is rendered blindly, there will be no consequences on his part. And so it is those parameters that make sometimes justice not being rendered.
When judges are more identified with corruption than with justice, can we have the justice that we need to restore peace in the country?
Because if there is no justice, there will not be peace. After the common man, where does he go to seek redress? It's with the judicial system. And so if that judicial system is corrupt, most of the time you see that common man will say, but why am I still living? Despair. What am I doing? I mean, if I can go to seek redress and I don't have it, let me use the jungle justice to achieve my objectives. Jungle justice is as a result of legal justice not being rendered. And so we should be aware that when justice is rendered blindly, we all become winner. Peace prevails.
We are going to the newsstands and we're going to see what the newspapers reported this week. Press review with Immaculate Fogwe.
The Guardian Post reports burning of the St. Mary Catholic Church in Mamfe, Southwest Region. Bishop Aloysius Fondang says Catholic Christians turned separatist fighters are responsible. He describes the act as abominable. According to Newswatch, gunmen demand 30 million francs CFA, churches offering to free kidnapped priests and others. But Archbishop Andrew Nkia vows the church won't surrender even a franc as ransom. The Chronicle Times exclaims, separatist fighters' atrocities on Catholic Church exposed. As reported by The Voice Weekender, Andek Mayor pushes for tougher sanctions on 3 soldiers arrested for shooting 2 women to death. Eden says, Anglophone crisis, government rubbishes much announced Swiss mediation routes for major national dialogue resolutions. Another edition of the Guardian Post states, Secondary Education Minister Professor Pauline Nalova-Lyonga engages initiative to tackle violence in schools. As reported by the Post Weekender, 50 publishers exposed for fraudulently introducing books in schools. The advocate, Minister of Finance Louis Paul Motazi, during a stirring meeting with committee members of Sonara, says government is bent on restructuring Sonara. The Horizon reports tax exemptions accounts for 2.5% of Cameroon's gross domestic product. The Post questions if France is upholding a war option in Cameroon following the appointment of Thierry Marchand as French ambassador to Cameroon.
Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. Now, what are some of the necessary actions that should be taken by all the stakeholders in order to have everyone converging towards the same direction, the direction of peace?
We need a reconciliatory come together for every member. That is the first thing, so that we reconcile our differences. We have what we call a peace committee set into place to see into it that justice is rendered for everybody. Having said that, Mr. Babila, the situation we find ourselves today will be and should be redressed. And I will give you an example. No matter what government is there in Yaoundé saying or doing, the solution, if well applied, will come from the population. Remember that the so-called separatists are children, are uncles, are fathers, are mothers of the population, which they tend, according to them, to protect. And so, if justice and peace reign, you will not have those guys in the bush any longer, because the population will see their interest to belong to where justice is being rendered. There will be those to tell those, the uncles, the brothers and sisters, and to say that it is over. Let us put our heads together and work for a better Cameroon. Anything other than that, if we think that we'll be going round and round, we are spending human resources, economic resources to achieve nothing. Start the deep seaport in Limbe. Start the seaport in Tiko. It will create job opportunities of more than 5,000, direct and indirect. Construct a railway from Limbe to Nkambe, passing through Kumba, Manfe, Bamenda, whatever. It will create jobs. Carry out economic development. Build schools. Build hospitals. And you will see people getting involved. And once they are involved, nobody thinks of hurting the neighbor. That's what we call peace. And once there is nobody hurting the other, love comes in. And once love is there, peace will reign.
Some of the things you're talking about are part of the presidential plan for the reconstruction and development of the northwest and southwest regions of the country. But this can only happen if there is peace.
Of course. You think that the power that be don't know that only peace can translate for any development to be carried out? They know. Remember that all those who are in government that are very learned. So they have been to different countries. They know various mechanisms to enable peace to reign. If they don't want to carry it out, they know better why they don't want to carry it out. I'm just a crusader. I'm just a businessman. I'm just like a common man who is there waiting for a conducive environment to enable me carry out my business employ youth, and the rest of the things.
In the place of interviews of the week, we will take an extract of Barrister Nico Hale. For Barrister Nico Hale is an international peace crusader who has been peace crusading for over 30 years. And he talked to us about peace around the globe, in Africa, and of course Cameroon inclusive.
Peace is the absence of disturbance. It is the absence of chaos, anarchy, effervescence, conflict, war, hate. Is the absence of physical, psychological, mental, even spiritual disturbances. That is peace. Peace is decorum. Peace is the wholesomeness of a structure, of an environment. Peace is harmony. Peace is what we need. Peace is the most precious gift for a person, for a family, for a community, for a society, for a nation, for a continent, for the world. Peace is the most precious asset. You know, when God created this world, there was total peace. But Adam and Eve brought sin, competition, greed. They became vaulting and inordinate in their quests for visibility. From that day till today, there has been chaos. The peace that the Lord put on earth when He created the world was distorted and thwarted, compromised. And for over the years, individuals, structures have struggled to restore peace, the peace which God created for humanity, for man's enjoyment, for man's joy, for man's happiness. The peace was taken away. And so we have remade the world. People struggling to restore peace. Unfortunately, you're talking about the countries in the world that are not properly, thoroughly, spiritually led. And so violence disturbs peace on a daily basis. That's why, for me, the International Peace Day that you are celebrating today has no place. There's nothing to write home. There is nothing to write home because peace does not exist in the world as it would have existed if humanity or humankind were to reflect, meditate, and go back to the drawing board, the kind of peace which God put in place when He created man. So you have greed, you have hate, you have tribalism, you have racism, you have nepotism, you have corruption, You have embezzlement. You have looting and plundering. And all of these deviant attitudes have created frustration. God's children are frustrated. Poverty creates frustration in the world. Unemployment creates frustration. Discrimination creates frustration. Discriminations of all types, of all brands. Racial discrimination, regional discrimination, color discrimination, religious discrimination, material discrimination, even mental discrimination. All of these discriminations create disorder and a potential nursery of violence. There is nothing to write home about the celebration. Last year, the theme on this same day was still to promote peace. What we should do now is to evaluate that theme and ask ourselves whether we are making any progress. If you were to ask me, I'll tell you that we are making no progress. Let us be honest. But if we were to sit down, the entire world, the world powers, and honestly look at each other eyeball to eyeball, and ask ourselves, what is all this production of ammunition, war equipment, arms here and there, missiles here and there? Why? That distorts peace, towards peace. With all of that, peace cannot exist, because when you have ammunition, you think that you are more powerful than those who don't have. And so you want to test your force, your strength, superpower. Unfortunately, God is not the equalizer. When it's time for you to die, you will not stay 1 minute because you have all the ammunition. You too will die. While you are killing people, know that the law, the natural law, the law of karma will come back on you. Because all these killings all over the world, do we need them? Resources that we are supposed to use to take care of the Commonwealth, humanity, we are using the resources in producing arms to go for hunting in the forests, in the bushes, or to kill the human being. Nobody has a right. Nobody has a right to take the other person's life, because you cannot create life. God gives life, and God is the only authority, the only power, the only person who should take life. People now want to show their might. They go in for sophisticated weapons. You go and bomb nations. You go and bomb your brothers and sisters. Because I consider all people God created in this world brothers and sisters. If we're to act like brothers and sisters, we will not be where we are today. People should be free anywhere in the world. Now you talk of world powers. The UN, the Security Council, that is supposed to act like a gendarme, should come out and identify those trouble areas or potentially trouble areas, and go and make peace and bring order, and tell them that you don't have a right to cause hurt. It is painful. My heart bleeds. As a peace crusader for over 30 years, I think everybody knows that if there's one person in Cameroon, I've been said, who has spent his time, spent his resources for peace, and also fighting corruption and all, decadence in all its forms, is Nico Haile. It's Nico Haile. So you can imagine how I feel. My heart bleeds when I discover that the peace that we, all of us, ought to continue to consolidate, if we had it, it is rather escaping away, and we are begging for peace. When we have all it takes to have peace, we just need to ask ourselves the question, are we God's children? Now, the Bible is very clear. The Bible is very clear. 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my children who are called by my name, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves, pray, come to me, seek my face, own up their shortcomings, show remorse, and ask for pardon, I, the Lord, God is very, very forgiving. His love for humanity is unconditional, unquestionable, and unimpeachable. But unfortunately, the arrogance of man, the pride of man, we cannot humble ourselves. And that's why we continue to suffer in this carnage. And people are being slaughtered, and children who did not need to see corpses are playing with corpses all over the world. When I was a child, I would see a corpse only after 1 year. Maybe out from a distance. But now I see children playing with corpses, sad all over the world. Isn't that horrendous, despicable, dejectable? The absence of the platform of moral values, moral and spiritual values. The absence of that platform. You ask yourself, Jonathan, when you have love, there is automatically justice. And when you have justice, you have equity. And all other things like accountability, transparency, the fear of the Lord, you have integrity, you have the truth, you have truth. All of this, patriotism, all of this, they constitute the core values of that platform that we should espouse on a daily basis. Once you have that put in place, you can't talk about war anymore. Because now, we're three of us here, one of us or three of us, we have 3 bottles of Tangi. We share one. That is justice. Nobody will complain. But if Nico Haile takes the 3 bottles to himself, you might not complain, but you'll be boiling inside you. If I did it the second time, your back is on your wall. If I did it on the 3rd time, you did it the 3rd time, you rise up and tell Nico Haile, please, you don't have the right. You must defend your right. And that's where frustration comes in on your side, and you have to fight to protect your rights, your interests. Whereas if there was love, there would be justice. When I hear people singing peace, 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 peace without even making reference to love and justice, those are the ingredients, those are, the mainstay, I'll call the mantra of the peace. Take away love and justice, equity, transparency, and all of that. There can't be any peace anywhere in the world. You heard me a week ago making a statement, very powerful statement. I said, look, you rig yourself into an office of maybe a traditional or a cultural, organization. You don't get there by transparent elections. You use You use unorthodox means. Just like if you want to become the president of the lawyers in Cameroon, you rig yourself, or president, you want to become, head of a structure in the church, you rig yourself there. You want to become this. When you rig yourself, you rig everything. You start by rigging yourself, rigging your wife, rigging your children, rigging your resources, the resources of the family, rigging anything that comes your way. So a thief is a thief at all levels, at all places. And you cannot be embezzling or stealing or frauding or looting and plundering and talking peace. Because once you do all of that, you cause frustration, because you are taking the resources that are meant for everybody to yourself. And so you cannot be condemning what you are causing. You can't condemn what you are causing. You can't be condemning violence or condemning unemployment or poverty when you are the cause of all of that. So I have told anybody who is found in embezzlement, in looting, plundering, in bribery and corruption or rigging, that he is responsible, or they are responsible for the disorder that we now have in Africa. And you see some of their leaders in Africa and the world. Look at what is happening in the I don't want to say some of the countries in the big world, the big countries in the world, what they have done. Do they have anything to offer? They see people, anything is happening, they endorse, they sit on, and what do? They exploit a situation. Once they hear there is disorder here, instead of going to make peace, they get there to exploit, to make gains, financial and political gains. I just tell those people, whatever you are getting there is blood money. Any money that you get out of people's sufferings, people dying, is blood money. And some people do what? They encourage those kinds of things. So when they see you, peace crusader, talking peace, preaching peace, crusading peace, advocating peace, they hate you, they don't like you. And once you stand by the truth, you become targeted. You become targeted, everybody would now throw arrows at you, and they will think that you are arrogant. Whereas you are an asset, because you want things to be improved for the good of humanity. I don't understand what we will be handing over. We have nothing to hand over to our children. Our children themselves, whether at what level, are not morally built up, morally or spiritually built up. Now you see in most of the institutions in Africa, where the qualification to go to higher school, they don't even ask for any certificate in religious knowledge or in spiritual knowledge. No. Whether it is at the O level or the A level, no. Or going to university. So you are admitting a child because of academia, and the child will have O levels, A levels, first degree, second degree, PhD, and eventually become a professor, devoid of core moral values. That professor or that doctor, that lawyer can never deliver. He's a potential danger. He's a danger. He's a big risk. Because once he's appointed into an office, he becomes synonymous to that office and makes that office his farm. Instead of working for his people, he's working for his stomach and for his family. And so a guy loots, plunders, and you have a good number of them doing that, then you impoverish the entire continent. And that's why, despite the natural resources that we have, and human resources we have in Africa, the average African is very intelligent. Unfortunately, very corrupt too. Very, very corrupt too. So you have natural resources that are exploited not even by Africans, are exploited by the people, by other countries. They come and deceive us, not even deceive us, they negotiate with some of us and loot and plunder our resources to the detriment of the Africans. And that's why Africans, they are beggarly. They are beggarly every day. They are beggarly. Let us be honest. And all of this will disturb international peace. I say, if I had a way, had my way, I will destroy all arms in the world. After having created an enabling environment of love, justice, equity. Once you create that, there's peace automatically. There's peace automatically. Now you have a situation where back in the homes, parents don't bring up the children in the way of the Lord. Proverbs 22:6. Bring up the children in the way of the Lord. When they grow, they will not depart from. The children learn to smoke from home, to chase from home, to steal from home, to rape from home, to fight from home. Then they go to school. In school, they meet a similar atmosphere, environment, and they fight, they steal, they smoke, they drug themselves. And then people think that the churches can help. You go to church, you find the same scenario that you found at home and you found in schools, in the churches. You go to the civil society, the same shows, the same thing. And then go all over the place, it's the same thing in Africa. So we are in for serious carnage if we are not careful. The only way that we can address this situation is by going down the drawing board. What God had created for man was love, was justice, was equity, was transparency and accountability, was patriotism, love where you are, your country, was integrity, dignity, was the fear of the Lord. You know, the Bible is very clear. It's Proverbs 1:7. It's very clear. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Proverbs 9:10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. As long as you don't fear God, wisdom is what? Wisdom is all those core moral values. Because you know that you are accountable to somebody. And that's why if you know God and you know Christ, and if you know Christ, you will know the truth. And if you know the truth will set you free. When they say the truth will set you free, it is that the truth will give you peace. It will give you enjoyment. All the resources that God has put in place for you, you will exploit them for the good of humanity, for the good of you and good of the people around. Then you will not get all of these wars. People, instead of buying ammunition, buying weapons of war, of mass destruction, will go for what? Build roads for your people, build hospitals for your people, bring potable water for your people, produce electricity for your people, buy more planes and more trains and more ships for your people, create an enabling environment for your people instead of buying arms. That's what most countries are doing. Arms to do what? To kill God's people.
That was Tune 4, Barrister Nico Hale, Peace Crusader, speaking there on peace around the globe. Now, we come back to our guests. How to bring the people at the extreme end to the center, to a point of compromise, to a point of understanding. How can we achieve this? How can this be achieved? We have some at the extreme left, so to speak, asking for independence or nothing else, independence of former British Southern Cameroons, and others at the other extreme end, notably the government authorities, saying we're not going to give you 1 centimeter, and to some of them the right to self-determination does not exist as far as Cameroon is concerned. How to reconcile these two extreme ends in order to move towards peace?
Everybody wants, after paying their taxes, to participate in the nation's cake. That is what everybody wants. And so long as you pay taxes, you don't see what the money, the taxes is doing, nobody will feel happy. And they will keep asking questions. And when they want to go to the streets to ask the government solutions to the problems, what happened? They send water cannons to go and spray water to them. Remember that those water cannons, those police people, those gendarmes, they are using their money to pay them. So why do you send them to go and provide a hostile environment for something which was a peaceful demonstration? Those are the type of things that create despair within society. If a group of persons are asking for what is theirs, provide an environment where there will be no destruction for them to seek what they are. On the 22nd of September, Mr. Babla, when the crisis started in the corner, I was called by the DO at 5 a.m. I went there and I gave them 2 conditions. We are going to march together so long as we don't destroy any property and we don't obstruct vehicles from moving. And they accepted. And Mr. Babla, we walked together almost 10 kilometers. There was no single incident. I don't know why our brothers think that you can only use hostility to look for solutions for a problem. If your child keeps crying every day, calm down that child and ask, why are you crying? Solve the problem. Don't think that you use a whip to keep whipping that child. You only kill the child. And when it gets to a point, the child will no longer recognize you like a parent. We have not yet attained that situation. But I bet you, as the days keep prolonging, there will be a time when everybody will say, okay, we've seen that there is no way of solving this problem. Let's all of us have a situation where chaos will reign. Is that what we want? No. We are still pleading as peace crusaders that government should take her responsibility and look for a peaceful solution to the crisis reigning in the northwest and the southwest region.
What is expected of the population?
Yes, what is expected of them as of now is to educate the masses. That education amongst themselves, how to live with peace, is something that needs to go further. Other than that, what do you want the masses to do, the northwest and southwest? The solution does not lie in the northwest and southwest. The solution lies in Yaoundé, and which I don't think is the best option. If effective decentralization was practiced, people will not be looking for Yaoundé for solutions to the problem.
What do you think about international mediation?
Confidence measures have not yet been instilled. The guys who are abroad know that if they come here, they will be picked up and locked in jail. That's why they are insisting that a third party should be involved. And the only person, the only one person who can do everything to install that confidence is government. government has to make everybody to trust government. Do you think a third party necessarily will resolve the issue? I think from the experience of 1996, whereby all Cameroonians sat down and agreed on principles on a document called the Constitution, but which has never been implemented up to date that we are talking. For example, the chapter on declaration of asset has never been implemented. Article 66. Who are we waiting? Are we waiting the French, the Americans to come and implement Article 66? So why do you think the common man will trust the government? The government is supposed to instill that trust on all the various parties to enable them to come and sit down here in Cameroon and discuss a roadmap for peace. I'll give you examples again, Mr. Babla. Before 2022, there was the AAC1, there was the AAC2, and I think there was the AAC3. Do you think the Anglophones were stupid to be holding these AACs? And every time they held the AACs, they sent recommendations to Yaoundé. They warned the government that we are hurting. Please, come to our help. Come to assist us. And what were they saying? Oh, keep 2 cubes of sugar. Or we did not invite you on the table for this. How do you feel if your brother, who you believe to be in the same country, tells you that I never invited you for this union? What do you have left? What do you have left? If your brother, whom you are complaining, tells you that I never invited you to agree for this union, he's indirectly telling you that, okay, go and fight for your peace. Go and fight for something else. So I think it is high time our governors, I mean those governing us, sit down and reflect on a way, on a means to bring peace in this loving country. Because when there is peace, again, as I said, everybody is a winner. When there is despair, everybody is a loser. Peace has no price. No matter what, you can use all the young Cameroonians you have. I call them Cameroonians, our military. Send all the military you have to come to the southwest and northwest. They will not bring peace. They will not bring peace. They will just be there asking questions. What are we doing here? These are our brothers and sisters. What are we doing here? And so, the solution of bringing a third party is because of experience of 1996, whereby all Cameroonians sat on the table, agreed on a document called the Constitution, but it has never been implemented. Who do you want to come and implement? So, but if there's a third party, and there are consensus agreement on a timetable for implementation, I think it will be a win-win for everybody.
Confidence or trust measures like general amnesty?
Of course, ask yourself a question. What are those children doing there in jail over there? What are they doing? Some were walking on the street, they were picked up. Some were sleeping on their beds, they were picked up. So, the head of state has the power to grant that amnesty. Once the amnesty is granted, the military will withdraw back to the barracks. Then, confidence measures assured everybody that, come, you are all Cameroonians, let us sit down and look for solutions to our problems. We don't need third parties. We need to resolve our issues ourselves. Then peace will reign.
Thank you very much.
You are always welcome, Mr. Babla. I think you can see for yourself today in Buea. The environment is very conducive. It is calm. Children are going back to school. That has been my cry. And I think government should provide the security so that those children, to enable those children read, study. That will also allow them to be members of the civil society. There will be economic developers. There will be administrators. There will be everything that takes for a society to exist.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, dear viewers. Thank you for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of The Insight. Goodbye.